Welcome to the A-Game Podcast with Nick Lamagna, digging into the minds and experiences of some of today's brightest entrepreneurs in real estate and business, along with Hollywood stars, UFC fighters, and your favorite rock bands. People that have figured out how to overcome obstacles, take chances, live boldly, and no matter what they do, they always bring their A-game.
Today's guest on the A-Game Podcast is my buddy and fellow Sarah Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt, Rob Lauth, also known as Rob Lauth. Apparently both are completely accurate, so whatever you want to call him, you can find him on Facebook, Rob, R-O-B, Lauth, L-A-U-T-H. His Instagram handle is at Rob Lauth, R-O-B-L-A-U-T-H. And more importantly, he is doing something that I found extremely interesting, that he's going to be making some big waves in the healthcare industry. He works at Huntington Hospital, and he's come up with an invention that he's patented with some of the other jiu-jitsu guys to really make a difference in some of the airborne stuff that's going around and things that just the average person never thinks about, that once you guys listen to this podcast and realize how much of a need there is for what he has actually invented to keep yourself and the loved ones safe when you actually go to visit them in hospitals and schools and all kinds of different things, somebody's going to grab onto this and it's going to make a complete change in healthcare and education and across the board. I think he's onto something huge, and I really think that that's where amazing ideas come from, is somebody that serves a purpose and serves a need for people for the greater good, not necessarily to become rich, but that's how those things happen. So he's a really good guy. He's always been really nice to me. He's an absolute killer, but one of the nicest ones out there. And I think he's got a great invention, and you guys are going to hear about him in the history books one day as a game changer. So I hope that somebody hears this and can pass it on to somebody else that hears this and can really pass this on and get his patent and get his invention in the right hands, because this is something that there's an absolute need for, and I think it serves a great purpose, and I think he's a good guy, and I really think he's going to do some big things. So he gives his personal contact information at the end of this as well, so if you want to reach out to him directly or pass his information, please, onto somebody that can give this to somebody that can do something with it or spread it around. The more people that can be educated about what's going on, why there's a need for this, and how Rob Lauth can solve that. I love his tagline: somebody's going to be first, and there's a need for it. Prove him wrong. So, once again, my buddy and black belt and inventor, Rob Lauth. Prove him wrong. I am here with Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt, Rob Lauth, or Rob Lauth, as we just learned. Both of them are actually right, and he's Skyping in or FaceTiming in or Zooming in from paradise. It looks like back there. He's in Montauk, got some nice scenery on a nice day, and we're going to talk some jiu-jitsu, probably talk about Hulk Smash Harrison a little bit, and some stuff he's working on for inventions and things. So just talk a little bit about yourself quick, man. Introduce yourself. I know you're from the jiu-jitsu world, but now we're kind of touching base that you got some stuff you're working on in the background.
Yeah, Nick. From jiu-jitsu, actually most of the good stuff in my life, even today, has to do with all my jiu-jitsu buddies and my jiu-jitsu beginning, just friendships and stuff that are forged and bond and whatever. And even though it's only on the mat most of the time, you don't get to spend that life stuff with those jiu-jitsu people, but you love them just the same. So that's why I can't, I don't know if that made sense, but yeah, that's it in a nutshell, man. Truly.
Nice, man. Yeah, I love that whole, one of the things I've always loved about jiu-jitsu is when everybody's there, everybody's like tight, cool, close-knit groups, and sometimes you don't even know what that person does in their normal life. And it's funny because when you leave there, it's the only place that when you guys leave, you could be best friends, and then you go out in the street and you go, oh shit, it's a cop and a robber, or like a drug dealer and a DEA agent, and they've been best friends for 6 months and they didn't even know, everything else goes aside. People don't care about what you've done off the mat, like what your titles are, if you're a millionaire, if you're broke, if you're a boss, if you're an employee, if they just care, like, are you a good person? And like, it all shows up there, man. And if you're putting in the work and, you're a team player and you're sweating and bleeding next to everybody, people don't judge you on like what you have, what your race is, what your gender is, it's, you are who you are right then and there. And that's all anybody cares about. And I really love that about it, brings all walks of life together, man. And it speaks the truth.
You couldn't have said it any better. I mean, God, that's it. Yep. A lot of times you don't even get to start asking anything personal. locker room shower, you're heading out the door, like you said, back to that your own personal life or grind, whatever it is, be it a millionaire or laying a roof for someone, and you don't even you're like, dude, I've been rolling with you, and sharing hard sweat and like all that stuff that you're trying to forget about, whatever, and it's just amazing.
Yeah,
It's
man. I mean, even like you were saying, I seen you post some pictures that you're doing jiu-jitsu with Kevin James, and it's like when he's there, you're just probably a cool guy doing jiu-jitsu, and if he was there and he was an asshole, you wouldn't care if he was Kevin James. You'd be like, I don't want to train with this guy. It's like who you are then. Like if you're a good dude and you're putting in the work, like it's cool. Like it's the great equalizer,
Yep, Kevin James is like is the cherry on top. It's secondary. I like you said, I could have found out after someone say, Google this guy, and be like, oh, if you didn't know, you know what I'm saying? Because jiu-jitsu was first. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Which is exactly kind of what it was with you, man. You've always been a good guy. And then, I heard that you're doing all this stuff. You got these inventions and stuff going, man. So I'm really happy to hear that you're doing big stuff and you're working on things. And, I feel like jiu-jitsu guys specifically, or, fighters, I guess, in general, they tend to be a little bit of a different breed, that they don't just talk about shit, they do it. And like, you didn't get to your black belt by telling everybody that you're going to go do jiu-jitsu. You got it by going to jiu-jitsu for years and years and years. So the same thing, like I think a lot of people in life probably have good ideas, but they don't follow through with anything. Whereas that's what you're doing, man. So that's part of why I like this podcast. It's just anybody who's going to, follow through with stuff and bring their best to stuff and really just go after it. I like talking to, man. So that's what you're doing. And you hit me up. I was at the airport a couple of weeks ago. You started telling me about your invention, man. And I definitely thought it was awesome. So let's dig into that a little bit. Talk about what you're working on and why you think it serves a purpose. And then we'll start to talk about how it's developing and how we can start to get it out there.
All right. Well, Nick, I got to back up the train for 2 seconds. Congratulations. I know we got limited time. Dude, I'm talking to a new Jiu-Jitsu Black belt myself, speaking of everything, by the way. And you know what? The best part about it is it takes a long, you don't brag about that. Look at the road you took and you know, not to use the term globetrotter, but you've been everywhere, but that perseverance, like it says on Matt Sarris Academy, victory belongs to the most persevering. It's 100%. You said it. You set out for something, you stick to it to the end. Black belt, whatever it is. If you sink your teeth into something, most people nowadays are not going to see it through. So congratulations to you, Nick,
Thanks,
the way.
Man.
You deserve it, man.
I appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Yeah, I work at a hospital. I work at Northwell Health, actually. Been there for like 13 years, and I am a maintenance guy there. So I fix stuff, like everything, and a lot of to do with plumbing and all that stuff. So, those snakes that people use to clear out their toilets, gross, right? They're totally gross. So, but everyone's got them. Everyone needs them. So when you use them, you stick them in. It's got one sole purpose. This snake is to clear a shit pipe. I hate to say it. That's the truth. This thing exists only to clear that line. So when it goes in there, it goes like 6 feet down there, comes out and just drips the remnants of whatever's in that waistline. And at a place like a hospital or anywhere, you don't need to have standards through the roof to realize that that's not a safe practice, anything that drips out of there. So yeah, I came up with a cover for the bottom of those things, man. It's like it's a boot, a little, by design, which is, now luckily patent pending, holds on to the bottom of this thing. And the part of the tool that is not supposed to be exposed to those waste or the harmful bacteria or whatever never has to get touched anymore, So I'm trying to bring that out to the world, Rigid and all these big tool companies, the makers of the toilet snakes and these plumbing equipment. They should, and hopefully when we're done, we'll redesign the way they even make their product, because there's no need to have the part that goes in the toilet outside when you're done using it. You shouldn't clip something like that on the outside of your tool and then hang it in your basement or your laundry room or anywhere, especially in a hospital, So we covered that thing.
That's awesome, man. I used to think it's probably partly me. I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. Like I just came from actually jiu-jitsu out here in Chicago, and I was telling the guy, like, when I travel with my gi, I don't want it to touch anything. Like, I don't like any of my clean stuff touching my dirty stuff. And when I used to do construction, it would drive me nuts coming home after working on, you're pulling stuff out of the drywall, who knows what kind of crap's in there. And you got all the fiberglass and shit from the insulation. And then you're throwing it in your washing machine and you're washing it with all your other stuff. And, like you said, you have that in your basement now hanging with your kids' clothes and all these other things. So I can only imagine how much more extreme that would be and more liability that would be health-wise in a place like a hospital, when you have all those airborne things and you got people that are, their immune systems are weak and they're breathing in this stuff. It was something I never even thought about until you said it. And I know that a lot of people don't do their jobs and a lot of people take shortcuts and they don't really follow codes and things like that. And I'm sure hospitals are no different than restaurants that are no different than, anything. So that's a place that could literally be saving people's lives by keeping their immune system strong and not having them breathing in all that bacteria and stuff, man. So I think that serves like a huge purpose for people across the board. I think that that's literally something that could help save people's lives. I think it's huge.
Nick, can you work for Snake Trap? I don't know if I could throw that name out there yet, because you just summed up everything is perfect. Can we just freeze that and like utilize it? Dude, you're hired. Snake Trap, yeah. Dude, I work for Northwell Health. It's a huge, obviously if you heard of it, it's mostly East Coast right now, but it's huge. And the reason I mentioned their name, is because they are a supporter in this. They have given me their thumbs up support. And like I said, it's been piloted at a couple of their places. And you said it, people are in the hospital to get better. They're, it's a hospital term I learned from working there. They're immunocompromised already just from being there. And basically the same goes for all their visitors and vendors who are coming in and out of the hospital. They're risk for whatever, and all these terms too, patient experience and everything now, because let's say, like you said, whether it's a restaurant, a business, a catering, a hospital, patient experience and all that stuff weighs in huge. It really does. At the end of the day, everything's based on reviews and everything. So, if you're going to share an elevator with a maintenance guy on your way to go see your grandmother on the 3rd floor, it's better to not know that guy has a thing that was just 6 feet down, a sick person's toilet standing next to you. That's what this boot and the idea of this is. It caters to all of those things in healthcare and outside, patient experience. It looks like a person or the maintenance guy's got a broom in his hand rather than, a really disturbing thing that, covered in shit.
Yeah. Well, I think a great marketing angle there is not even necessarily marketing to the manufacturers or the hospitals, but getting that information out to the public, because once people realize that that's something, I never thought of it, but exactly like you said, now when people are walking around, like I'm the kind of guy that once I'm aware of something, I can't unsee it. So if you put that out there in people's heads, they're going to start to think about that every single time now. Everybody that hears that's going to the hospital over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they see somebody walking through, it's going to be in the back of their head of like, oh yeah, I just heard that guy say that. Am I getting that? Am I exposing my mother, my grandmother, my kid, my son, whatever it is that we're going to go see to that? And I feel like it's the kind of thing that can push a little bit of, when the public's aware of it, they push back, and that public awareness and that public education puts pressure on the hospitals to actually go buy and make sure that they have that product that you're selling. You know what I mean? So it could be like external pressure by educating the public on what's not out there and what the dangers are, could create a demand for that product that you put them in that spot that they literally have to buy it. Like there was another guy, I forget exactly what it was, but I was telling you, sometimes I work with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank, and that's what he does, man. And I'm definitely going to pass this on to him and get it down the line. But he takes those ideas and he gets them out to the people that really can move it along and make stuff happen. And this other guy came up with like something so crazy that it was like a tray that came out like a couple of other inches for people that go to places, and like something I've never dealt with, thank God, that he's like, you spill food all over yourself, but this is like a 4-inch extender. He's like, and then when the government found out about it, because people heard that was an option, they were making it mandatory that it was going to have to be in every restaurant in the next 5 years. Like that's the kind of thing where when I heard your thing, I was like, that's exactly the same idea, that when people go, oh, that's actually an option, and somebody's going to go, that's going to become mandatory, that needs to be used in every hospital in this country in the next 5 years. And dude, that could be huge for you. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of shit I get excited about, is something that like,
Nick, nice.
You know?
Nick, that is awesome. Yeah, that is the end game. And like you said, organically, accidentally. I wasn't, I was just thinking, listen, here's a solution to a problem that not everyone even thought was a problem. Nobody thought it was a problem. Everyone's like, listen, the problem's in the toilet. Let's get that cleared. But the problem goes beyond the toilet, as we just talked about. That thing that you solved one problem with is now turned into another problem. And I came up with a solution for that problem, but it wasn't even overlooked. These hospitals dot their I's, cross their T's. They are standardized and they don't mess around. Was this something that is an overlooked whatever, a little, it's a crumb on the big spectrum of healthcare. But let's face it, it's infection control. It's all these things that you said. You can't unsee this now. And that's the moment. That's the end game, to get a standard, a mandate. And we're working towards that, so that any place that has to uphold to Department of Health, a Joint Commission, any kind of, and that goes for restaurants, apartment buildings, school districts, any place that's public, and has a couple of these things in there for maintenance reasons. It's got to be covered, it has to be. So that is the goal, and like you said, pressure from outside, somebody has to be first in a lot of things in life. And this is my slogan as I was talking to the upper echelon of Northwell Health. Like I said, super supportive of the whole idea. They pride themselves on leadership, and this is a great opportunity for somebody to lead the way. Somebody has to be first, So is it going to be a school district? Is it going to be who's going to say, is it going to be Lowe's or Home Depot putting them in the aisle, and the public just saying, listen, I got one of these in my house, I'm going to cover it? Or should a hospital roll it out? I'm working with Stony Brook University now, and their small development center, small business development center is kind of taken over. We just, like I said, filed for LLC where we got a Duns and Bradstreet number and all this stuff. So we're recognized as a business now, snake trap. And we're going to see what, we're going to test the plastics. We're going to test everything to get it 3D printed and made in bulk as cheap as possible for the reader. It's the need. The need is out there,
That's awesome, man. And, I think that's the cool thing. It's you weren't trying to come up with something that, hey, how do I find a way to become a millionaire by just inventing something? You found something that was a problem and you found the need for it. And like, that's where I think the best things come from. You know what I mean? That's where a true million idea is. It's not from creating something to make money. It's creating a need and solving a problem for the general public. Yeah. And then when people go, oh, cool. And like the gravy on top, like you said, it becomes a great business model, but it's also something that's serving a public need, a public health, and I'm a big believer too. And, I can always forgive if somebody doesn't know. Like sometimes I'll be like, man, can you believe this guy's doing this stuff? And they're going, well, I mean, did you tell him that what he did was messed up or you didn't like that? Like he might not even see it like that because people have different perceptions. So I like, okay, look, we're having the conversation. This is my fault, but now you know. And then once you know, if you don't do it again, once you know, now it's shame on you, and now I have a problem with it. So I feel the same thing like with the health, like not to go too off track, but like car dealerships, you always, and I don't know if this is true, but I hear the stat all the time that like they do this market research and they go, you know what, we have 10,000 defective cars in our $1 million line, but to recall them is going to cost us X, whereas the lawsuits for the people that are going to die in these is going to be Y. So it's going to be cheaper to pay deaths than it is to pull the cars back. And I feel like that's probably a way that with the public pushing on the hospitals, if they didn't know, okay, but if they did and they were like, well, yeah, we could do that, but it's going to cost this, they're not going to be able to get away with that once people are aware of it. So I love that's the beautiful part about the internet, man. Like people aren't going to be able to get away with bullshit as much when they really see what's affecting them,
Yeah. I got to utilize that more because it is true. I've done a ton of surveys. At first, they were asking me, I'm like, how do you change a standard? How do you introduce a new standard? How do you do? And they're like, you don't just shove it down your throat, people's throats, even though we're a giant, healthcare system, or you got to do it with data and all that stuff and research. So I went out and they asked for like 40 or 50 surveys, and it was so easy to get surveys back from people who strongly agree that, listen, that's a problem. I didn't even think about that, but now that I know it, it's a problem. I got up to like 450, and I'm like, I have to stop. I don't know what it just kept on going, because like you said, the public probably is stronger than we think as far as propelling stuff. It's huge.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So again, I love, like we were saying earlier,
Dude, was that Hulk? I think Hulk just surfed by. I don't know where he's going. Is that Harrison back there?
Big green redheaded monster.
I had to shout him out there. Did you see that green dude on the wakeboard?
I didn't see him. That's funny, man. But speaking of Hulk, definitely, good people, good dudes. Matt Serra always says water finds its own level. So I love the just the contacts that I've made over the years for different people, and like somebody knows a guy who knows somebody, and it's just a great group of people, and the sense of community at the jiu-jitsu level of helping each other and putting things together. And it's different because there's other people in life that they ask for things and sometimes they're looking to take and drain, whereas I really feel like with the community of jiu-jitsu guys, everybody's really willing to help, and it doesn't feel like a burden. You know what I mean? Like, I really enjoy being able to give you an outlet, and like I hope it just does something good for you, man. You know what I mean? Like, so we were talking about it, that you were saying some of the key players in getting this out there are guys that from jiu-jitsu. So, talk about a little bit of what the progress is right now with where you're at with this invention, and some of the roles and some of the guys that are getting this out there for you.
What was that, Matt? What was Matt saying? The water finds its levels.
Yeah, water finds its own level.
Yeah, I still I don't train at that academy anymore, but speaking of jiu-jitsu, I still text that guy as often as it's necessary or warranted, or when I feel it enough. I don't even know if he's going to respond, and he always does. The guy, what he did, and he created a group of people that you're mentioning now that are so magnanimous. I don't even know. My wife's a teacher. She's probably laughing at me saying words I have no business using. But I heard it once used, and it means like, very, very selfless people, and yeah, I do feel good about what I'm working on, because it's not greed driven. That wasn't the soap. It's not greed driven. And every step and dot that I've connected along the way to right up to talking to you now, yeah, it's all to do with jiu-jitsu, drive, self-belief, and all. Hulk introduced me to a buddy of his named Rob who's my partner in this whole deal. He was a guy I didn't know out of the blue. I had nothing except an introduction, and Hulk said, "Why don't you two should talk?" That was it. That was, I think, 4 years now. Him and I have been hammering on this together, and we got Jeffrey Baravarian, who's has nothing to do with what I'm working on, but somebody said, I think he messes around with 3D stuff or whatever. I reached out to him. He didn't even think twice. He's like, let's meet and talk about it. Jiu-jitsu. Joseph Gross, a newbie at jiu-jitsu. Awesome. He works for an awesome patent firm. He's like, I'd love to talk to you. He helped me file my provisional. Such a nice guy. He sat down in his office and helped me file my provisional on my own, because I couldn't afford, I couldn't afford to pay for a real provisional. I couldn't afford patent at that time. I just said, let me buy myself whatever. It's like 11 or 12 months of protection. He walked me through. He didn't have to do that. It is all, jiu-jitsu. it's everything that's good in my life, my balance, my outlet, my home life, my daughter, my obsession with making stuff in the garage and beach wood. It's all, there's a zen that jiu-jitsu gave me that I never knew lived in me. And it's awesome. It's really awesome, dude.
It really brings, everybody's got their darkness, but I've seen it over the years really help shine a light and contain that. Not that everybody doesn't have it, but I mean, even me, man, I'm coming off like a pretty serious like neck injury. And when I wasn't able to train, I just felt like everything was exponentially more stressful, and I didn't know how to get it out. And sometimes just, going down, I didn't get to train that much or that hard when I was in New York a couple weeks ago, but just being on the mats with like all my brother and Hulk and Patton and Gersh and Matt and all those guys, and then being at the barbecue and getting, listening to, just funny guys. Like the day after I get, everybody's texting me like, hey man, congrats on your black belt. And then I get a call from Billy Tats, and he's like, look, man, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this, but Matt's embarrassed. There was a mix-up at the barbecue yesterday. They're going to have to take back the belt. And I was like, of course, you know what I mean? Like, he's just such a dick, dude. But, but I love them, man. It's like, that's the guys, man. It really is like big brothers. Then you got your little, it's awesome, man. There's nothing like it. Like I go there in the morning sometimes to the 6 a.m. class with my brother, and I wind up sitting there until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just, talking to people and listening to guys tell jokes and watching. It's awesome, man. You know what I mean? And I love that. And even, it's across the board, man. I train all over the country, and it's so rare that I go somewhere and I'm like, man, that guy was an asshole. Like, and just on the
right.
So rare, man. Like
what is Matt say?
What's that?
It's jiu-jitsu. Another Matt says it. He's like, jiu-jitsu is the ultimate douchebag filter. That's a Matt. He says it all the time. He goes, even if you come in that way, you're not lasting that way and staying here or staying anywhere really in jiu-jitsu. It changes you. You don't change it really. It changes you. And Tats, man, what a king ball buster. Awesome. I'm in a thread with him and a bunch of guys, and when it's semi-serious or someone has something happen or whatever, he'll float out something that's so absurd. But he also has got a heart in there. That giant tattooed monster is a big heart, dude. He doesn't want anyone to know that, but he's all love.
No, he's funny, man. I'll text you a picture he sent me the other day because it was funny. They were cool. We went out to eat, and then I had to go out to Florida. And he's like, oh, we came out to take you out, and now you're going to go disappear to Florida. And I was like, dude, I'll send you some Mickey ears. Calm down, asshole. And then so I mailed them to him. And he sent me a picture yesterday with the Mickey ears on, like, give me the fingers. He's a good guy. He's like, you're lucky now I don't have to beat you. But, dude, he tortures me when we roll. Just not only does he just tap me out over and over again, but he verbally abuses me while he does it.
It's unbelievable, yeah. And, but look, you're cracking up over it. Well, think about what awesome. You just said. People who don't get it don't understand. Like, beating the crap out of you, talking to you, and then you're going to go out and grab a drink or something, if you don't get it, you don't get it, but everyone needs to get it. Just like that, the public got to find out about the snake trap. That's good. I don't want, as much as I want everyone to find out about jiu-jitsu, it's like so awesome. It's so awesome, man. Yeah. The world would be a better place if everyone was more that way.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. So what's the next steps, man? What are we looking at? You got the patent pending, you got the 3D printer stuff going, you got your DMB number, you got your LLC stuff. What is it? Marketing? Is it manufacturing? Is it selling it to a big company, promoting it? What are the next steps?
Yeah. The next steps, Nick, are just like all the other steps, uncharted territories. I have no idea exactly, but yeah, we need to get some interest aside from the obvious and public, thumbs up. We need to get some interest from people who would back something that, potentially could be a lot bigger than just for healthcare. And let's face it, if it is just a niche for healthcare, that's still a pretty big win,
multi-billion-dollar industry, man. I mean, there's no small wins business-wise if you get something in the healthcare circuit, man. That's huge.
Yeah, so luckily the next steps are I got to keep on. I'm an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. Awesome dude. He's the New York State legislator, actually. He's a kick-ass doctor for Huntington Hospital, and he's the New York State legislator for District 18, William Spencer, Doc, everyone calls him. I sat in his office. I emailed him too. I'm like, you got 5 minutes to talk to a maintenance man? And he was very nice. He's like, yeah, man, let's go. So I sat in his office. I told him the idea. He loved it. He wanted to see it work. He wanted to see a prototype. And he then set up some next steps for me to sit with the Nassau Suffolk Hospital Board president and stuff like this to try to pass that mandate, to try to get the awareness on that level to say, hey, what needs to happen for, hospitals to code this, to make this, kind of a standard issue. Like if it goes and has a contact with the waistline, it needs to be handled, cared for, and transported in a certain way. No ifs, ands, or buts. So that's the next step. Getting people interested and talking to the companies like Rigid, who they make tools. They make these snakes that people use. Anyone that might be interested, finding out which plastics are going to work, doing all this stuff, making a nice run at saying, guys, here's a package that everyone should look at. Tell us all what you think, and then who wants in. That's what we're working on. At the end of the day, Nick, you look at that and the water and the ocean, and I'm not one of those crazy tree huggers by any means. I don't even know if that term is offensive or whatever. But listen, I like, yeah, dude, you see, tats with eat. So, but I don't like this, knowing that we're fucking this up slowly but surely, So if I can do my part here or there, I'm going to do my little part. It is what it, but at the end, I would like to make this thing compostable, out of cardboards. What did they make, like Chinese food takeout? That holds some oily MSG filled noodles and stuff, and that goes in the garbage. That doesn't leave a footprint. Hospitals, anyone would be interested in that. So that's the ultimate end game. So hopefully Stony Brook Small Business Development Center and those guys over there, which I hear they're doing huge things. They want to be like the East Coast Silicon Valley. It's they got something good going on over there. And they're interested in trying to, why wouldn't they want to try to make it not plastic? If it,
Yeah. No,
so
man, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. The journey of 1,000,000 miles starts with a single step, man. So you're doing all the right things. And, again, I never know, but I'm always happy to pass it to people I know that can pass it to people that can make a difference, man. And I felt like that's the game. It's not necessarily who you know, but who's having, you pass it to this guy who passes it to that guy on the right day. And that's where things come wrapping. So for sure, like, I make promo clips off of these podcasts, and then I pay for promotions to put them out there for certain demographics and things like that. So I'll definitely pick your brain for when I'm putting the promotions together of who we can market it to. So when they're on their Instagram or their Facebook feeds, it'll pop up. So, I mean, if there was like and we could do a couple of more of these to promote out there too. Like I'm happy to, but if you were going to give like a 1 minute, 1.5 minute pitch that I was going to snip and pop out there, how would you summarize why somebody should click on listening to you talk longer about this, or, look into more of what you're doing? Like, what's the need? Give a quick, like 60, 120 second commercial.
Yeah. Simply put, it is a simple solution to an overlooked problem inside and outside of healthcare. The key market, or the key people that I'd want to really concentrate and hear this from another angle, from another angle, aside from the guy who works there saying, hey guys, I got a good idea. I would like them to know that it's not just the guy and the 400 people in the survey and other family members and friends and everybody. There is no downside to this idea, zero. So anyone listening, I would want them to really listen more, and to do that, like that meme that's out there now. There's no downside, and we need this. Prove me wrong, and sit there. Not to sound like that, but with this, I have invested so much time and energy and thought, and most of why I'm here talking to you still, almost 7 years later, Nick, is because I can't talk myself out of it. That's what I can't. It's not that I'm just that thick-headed and prideful on my own. I can't talk myself out of it, and there is no negative. I want people and big companies who do A, B, and C so well to not forget that the whole shooting match ends with X, Y, and Z. You can't do A, B, and C like a rock star. Kill it. And as it gets down the line and closer to the end, all right, that's not important. We got bigger fish to fry, blah, blah, blah. But anyone should really remember, it's the whole shooting match. If you're going to be the leader, if you're going to set a standard, you gotta you got to look beyond the first couple steps of public opinion, you know. And it is, no one, when you think about a hospital, you think about nurses, doctors getting better, getting healthy. You don't think about what's down that hallway where the maintenance guys go and what comes out of that closet, you know. But now people are, and that's really, if anyone's listening, you know, we can make something happen here with this idea that's already got legs. I just need some help, you know?
I love that, man. And if I were you, I'd put a lot of marketing into that too, of like, wherever you pitch this, I would literally end it with who's going to be first, because somebody's going to be, and everybody wants to be the one who like you said, man, Lowe's doesn't want Home Depot to pull the trigger before them, you know, and then this hospital doesn't want this hospital, because now then it starts to be, well, if I'm going to bring my kid or my grandmother somewhere and I hear that place doesn't have literally like fecal stuff running around, I'm going to go there. And then the other place goes, well, if they're going to have it, it's exactly like you said,
Yeah.
Somebody's going to be first. And then when somebody has it, everybody's going to have it, you know? So I think it's awesome.
Nice.
And anything I could do to help push it, you know, I'm on board. I support it. Obviously I think you're awesome. And I think what you're doing is awesome. And, you know, that's where great things happen, man. So happy to help any way I can. How do people contact you to find out more, whether they're people that want to get it or pass it on, or even if anybody hears this and just knows somebody who knows somebody that would be a great contact for you to take this further and get it in the right hands, how can they reach out to you and keep this fire going?
Yeah, I would assume just give my cell phone number. Like, call me. I don't have, I'm not good at that Instagram stuff yet, but I am working on it. I'm trying to do that because it's huge. It's huge. So I'm going to get that going. But Rob Lauth on Facebook or at Rob Lauth on Instagram. Not sure. I will send you text, Nick. I don't know, but 631-813-3433. Text me, you know, man. Or I don't know. Nick, I'm very appreciative. I'm talking to one of the best people that I wish I knew better. That's the only way I can sum it up. I wish I know you through people who know you, and everything's true. Everything's true.
I appreciate that, man. Likewise, you know, again, Gersh, Hulk, everybody, man, everybody says great stuff about you. I've had nothing but great interactions with you. And then for anybody listening, if they just click on the show notes, I'll have your contact information so they could just send it right to you. And I'm gonna cut this and I'm gonna send it out to my guy to send to Kevin Harrington, and we're gonna make something happen with this, man.
Nick, I'm psyched. I like watching everything you do, and thanks, dude.
Definitely, man. Well, you enjoy paradise back there, my man. Have a great time. If you see the Hulkster, tell him I said what's up. And yeah, man, let's keep in touch. Let's make something. We'll make.
He's probably in Ditch Plains right now. If I see him, you're getting a call.
I love it, man. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend, man. Have a great Labor Day, and good luck with everything, man. I'll see you again soon.
So what's it?